Students, this is the course Organic Chemistry EST 1222. Today we are going to talk about the introduction part of organic chemistry. First, I would like to mention the vitalism. It's a belief that living organisms are fundamentally different from non-living entities because they contain some non-physical element or are governed by different principles than inanimate things. For examples, these kind of plants or animals contain some different special elements they are forming than the non-living thing. They believe that kind of things, and they believe that that kind of material equate with the soul. In 18th or 19th centuries, vitalism was discussed among biologists between those who felt that the non-mechanics of physics would eventually explain the difference between life and non-life, and vitalists who argued that the process of life could not be reduced to a mechanics process. Some vitalist biologists propose some testable hypotheses meant to show inadequacies with mechanics explanations, but this experiment failed to prove. This is a Swedish scientist, Byron John Bacillus. He actually known as the one of father of modern chemistry. Actually, he argued that a regulative force must exist within living matters to maintain its function. So that is why he is also vitalist, and chemists predict that organic materials could not be synthesized from inorganic compounds. So then actually this period, this era, scientists believe there are two kind of materials. One is organic, which are made from living organisms, and inorganic materials are there. They believe that that's coming from non-living materials. This scientist is called Michel Eugene Cherel. It's a French chemist who worked with fatty acid. Then he could able to make soap from fatty acid reaction with alkalines such as sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide. So then he could able to separate different acids that in combination with the alkali produced soap. So actually this is the first evidence to show organic compounds convert into inorganic materials. This scientist is the Friedrich Wöhler, is the scientist first synthesized organic materials from inorganic compounds. He used potassium cyanate and ammonium sulfate to form urea. Until the Wöhler synthesis, people believe that inorganic compounds cannot prepare organic compounds, that organic compounds only can make using living organisms. But later, after the Wöhler's invention, then they believe that organic compounds also can make using inorganic compounds. Then shall we discuss the nature and the chemical structure of organic compounds, and organic compounds mainly based on carbon. So let's see the carbon element. In a carbon element there are 4 valence electrons. So then it can form bonds with another 4 electrons, and therefore carbon is able to form 4 covalent bonds with other carbon or any other. Now let's see how to draw an electron dot diagram of carbon. Here 4 valence electrons of carbon can combine with 1, 2, 3, 4 hydrogen atoms. They can form bonds with 4 hydrogen atoms to 1 carbon. The short lines indicate bonding electron pairs. This is the most simplest structure we can form using hydrogen and carbon. This kind of compounds which contains only carbon and hydrogen we call hydrocarbon, and this is the most simplest molecule which can form using hydrogen and carbon. If you remove one hydrogen and still one valence electron remaining, we can make another carbon bond to this kind of compound, and after forming, this is another example of hydrocarbon which contains 2 carbon. This is 3 carbon atom contain hydrocarbon. This is 4 carbon atom contains hydrocarbons. Moreover, we can write down number of carbon atoms, and every hydrogen atom can be replaced by carbon atoms. Now let's see if you can remove electrons and forming double bond with 2 carbon we call alkenes. And also we can remove hydrogen electrons to their side and make triple bond with carbon-carbon we call alkynes. This type of different molecules can form using hydrocarbons. Instead of hydrogen, carbon can form bonds with halogens also. This is example of chlorine. Chlorine contains 7 valence electrons, therefore 1 carbon valence electron can form a bond with chlorine. This is examples of halogen contained organic compound. Not only chlorine, it can form bonds with fluorine, bromine or iodine also. Another example, carbon can form bond with oxygen. This is example. Oxygen contains 6 valence electrons, therefore it can form another bond. This kind of single bond, carbon to oxygen, can form this kind of oxygen contained organic compounds. Not only single bonds with carbon and oxygen can form, because carbon contains 2 valence electrons and combined with the 6 valence electrons of oxygen, and it can form double bond with oxygen. Therefore, organic compounds can exist with oxygen elements to form double bond with carbon. Another example, organic compounds can form bonds with nitrogen. This is example. Nitrogen contains 5 valence electrons, therefore another 2 bonds can form instead of carbon, hydrogen. This is example of nitrogen contained organic compounds. Therefore, organic compounds, they have hydrogen and carbon, and also it contains halogen, and also contains oxygen and nitrogen. Also, organic compounds can exist with sulfur or phosphorus or some other metals also. In next video, you can learn different functional groups which contains different kind of elements with hydrocarbons, and how to identify these functional groups in organic chemistry. Thank you.